At its very roots, the tiny house movement has always been about people building homes for themselves, utilizing DIY labor and recycled materials to build sustainable and, most importantly, really affordable homes. This next tiny house we're about to visit is one that takes us right back to those pioneering days. Hey Jesse!
Hey mate.
Good to meet you, mate.
Yeah, you too. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. And dude, this house looks incredible.
Thank you.
What have you used as a cladding? Because this is really unusual.
These are all fence palings. So I just found a guy on Gumtree, an old fencer who their job is to rip fences down and put new ones in their place. And then they usually just chuck these away. So I got in contact with him and he just let me know whenever he got new hardwood fence palings and I went and picked them up.
What a treasure. Because you've actually used a lot of reclaimed materials in this build, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm not sure what percentage exactly, but between 70 and 80% are recycled materials.
So what was it that actually made you want to build a tiny house?
I have always been interested in sustainability. A lot of tiny houses are built from recycled materials. It's very DIY, which interests me a lot. And the timing for me was perfect because I've been living in a van for the last 2 years and I had an opportunity building tiny houses on the farm with this guy, Rob Scott, and he went away for a few months overseas to Thailand. So the shed was free and it was a perfect opportunity for me to get in there and start building.
Having lived in a van for a few years then, this is kind of upsizing for you, not downsizing.
Yeah, definitely. People were always saying to me, I'm never gonna have enough storage space to put all my clothes and stuff. I've taken up like 3 drawers and that's all my clothes. So yeah, it's been a very easy transition for me. It's been a massive upgrade.
I bet. The style of this tiny house is just so cool. It definitely has that very whimsical look. What was it that inspired the aesthetic?
I've been interested in old style buildings for a while. They've always caught my imagination, I guess. And I just wanted to sort of reflect that in what I was doing. And yeah, shingles was just really cool. And yeah, I think it just makes for an interesting aesthetic. I grew up in a national park and my dad was a ranger there and would go on this hiking circuit, Sealer's Refuge Waterloo circuit. And because my dad was a ranger, would stay in the ranger's hut. So tiny houses for me are very hutty. They remind me of what could be the huts of the national park. That's something that I think is inspiring to me, to live in a hut, a tiny hut. And tiny houses really connect me to that time of my childhood and spending time with my father and my family.
This parking spot is probably one of the most beautiful ones that I have actually ever seen for a tiny house. Can you talk to me about how you came to be here on this property?
I was offered the job on the farm, which is also a working farm, and there's tiny houses being built in the shed. And yeah, so when I was offered that, I just thought it was an amazing opportunity and said 100% yes, quit my job in Melbourne and moved up here. And then just never really left after that.
You're on quite a remote corner of the farm here as well, so obviously this home has to be totally off-grid.
Yeah, so I've got 1, 2, 3 solar panels, all at 250 watts. And then I've got an inverter controller in the front with 230 amp hour batteries, I think, which are really heavy. They're adding a lot of weight to the front.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome. I love the idea of not having to plug in anywhere.
Brilliant. And what about water down here?
Yeah, so I don't have any water at the moment, but I'm gonna get a big tank, get a little pump, 12-volt pump, and then I'll have running water.
And having made the decision to take your tiny house off-grid like this, it just completely opens up the possibilities when it comes to finding a parking spot.
Yeah, definitely. It's all in one convenient package on a trailer. It's perfect.
What size is this tiny house?
So this is 6 meters long by 2.5 wide. Added a little bit on with shingles and whatnot.
Well, I am really interested to see what you've done inside the place. Can we check it out?
Let's do it.
This is so cool. I can see that you've actually continued the theme of using the fence palings for your interior lighting as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got the palings for free and I've seen it done before, so I knew it would look great.
And all of the cabinetry in here continues that very rustic look.
Yeah, so they're just, again, fence palings. I've used fence palings as much as I can because I had a lot of them and they're for free. Yeah, just fence palings whacked onto some ply and Bob's your uncle. Yeah.
And then tell me about the appliances that we've got in here.
I wanted to have an oven because I wanted this to be quite a functional kitchen. Even though I'm not the best cook in the world, it's still nice to be able to have a functioning kitchen, be able to cook what you want to cook, which is why I've got things like the oven.
So you're using all gas in here for all your appliances and water heating and everything?
Yes, yeah.
You've built the kitchen in a way that it's obviously very functional too.
Yeah.
Like, I really like the way that it kind of actually forms this L shape and kind of extends into your living room and creates this barrier between the two.
Yeah, it creates the barrier, so it's like separating, saying this is the kitchen, that's the living room, but it keeps it very social as well if I've got people over. And yeah, it makes this free flow sort of openness, which I really like.
And is this a pantry behind us?
No, this is actually a shower.
This is a shower?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Tiles, that's nice.
Yeah. So I was a little bit worried about having tiles because obviously being a tiny house, there's quite a bit of movement. So I was worried about cracking, but so far I haven't had any issues. For the longest time I wasn't going to put in a shower on the inside. I was going to have an outdoor shower just because I knew that that would be less hassle, but I've been convinced through talking to friends and colleagues of mine to have an indoor shower, and I'm glad that I did. At the end of the day, in winter, for example, after a day's work, you just want to come home, have a nice hot shower in a warm environment. That's the argument that sold me at the end of the day.
I don't think anyone's going to argue with that.
No.
So what about a toilet then?
No toilet. Don't like the idea of shitting where you eat.
Fair enough. I'm sure a lot of people would also agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
So what do you do for a toilet here then?
I've got a composting toilet out behind the house.
Cool. And then tell me about your living area here.
Yeah, so I wanted a living space which still felt like a living room rather than just a little nook, I suppose, which is what I've tried to do in most of this house. I really wanted this house to feel like a house rather than a corridor, because I find that a lot of tiny houses you've got benches either side or shelving either side, and it has this corridor effect which I find to be a little bit claustrophobic. It could be cozy but also not much space to move around in, and that was important to me. With how the roof opens up, it gives it this larger feel than maybe it actually has.
You've also really helped to add to that effect by the use of these really large windows as well.
So I was lucky enough to find these windows on the farm. Yeah, it was lucky that these were sitting around and, again, recycled and didn't have to pay for them.
I can't complain about that.
No.
The river out there is actually perfectly framed by that window, isn't it?
No, it's a bit disgustingly beautiful, isn't it?
It certainly is. And then tell me about the sofa you've built here.
Yeah, so this is just pine frame and then, again, fence paling slats. And then, yeah, I've got a throw from Turkey, which is cool.
That is a pretty serious looking sound system as well.
Yeah, so getting this sound system in was half the reason I went to 6 meters rather than 5.5. Yeah, just the idea of having a record player and just chilling out, listening to music was too much to say no to.
It's one of those things, when you're actually designing a space like this, being able to really know those few things that you just have to have and being able to work the design around to make sure that there's space for it. It's just so important.
Yeah, totally. And it's such a treat because going from living in the van, you know, not having much space to having space, even though it's small, to be able to put something like a record player in, it's just such a treat. Yeah.
Cozy looking fire as well here.
Yeah, it's great in the winter. Keeps the place cozy. Yeah, it was pretty chilly before I installed that.
It's nice how you've actually raised it up as well, so you've got some storage underneath.
Yeah, so I got that idea from a friend who also lives in a tiny house who built his own. He was saying that the one thing that he'd do differently is raise the stand so that you can have wood storage under, which makes perfect sense.
It's cool that you've got this beam here as well, because they do say that you should spend at least a certain amount of time hanging every single day, right?
Yeah, right. Well, that wasn't the intention for it, but it is to stop skewing of the house and the rafters. You can see that we've got one here which happens to act as an extra joist for the storage loft, and a tiny one up there. But yeah, it can also be used for doing pull-ups and hanging, so...
But most importantly, it's holding the house together.
Most importantly, you could say it's for chin-ups.
I like that answer. And then leading into the loft area, this is really cool what you've done with the stairs.
Yeah, so I wanted compact storage / entrance into the loft. I've seen a lot of designs where the stairs come along the side of the house, which I find takes up a lot of usable space. And I don't like ladders because same sort of thing, you get a ladder, you put it wherever, and then you either need to move it or you just don't move it because you're always going up and down it and it's always in the way. So this way, having the stairs packed in a little neat corner with drawers, it just made sense to me.
I like how you've managed to fit the fridge in there as well.
Yeah, it's nice, neat, compact little nook, isn't it? I'm pretty pleased with it myself.
Fair enough too. Well, should we check out upstairs and see the sleeping loft?
Most definitely, after you.
Thank you very much. Really comfortable stairs.
Yeah, bit of a spiral effect.
Oh, this loft just looks so cozy. It's really nice how you've got this dormer here in the sleeping loft as well.
Yeah, I wanted one to have more space in the loft to make it feel less claustrophobic and a bit more like a room. But also from the outside, it looks a lot more interesting, I think, with strange things poking out of the sides. Because I feel as though a lot of tiny houses, when they've just got the one pitch roof, it can look a bit bland and a bit boxy. So I think it just makes it look a bit more interesting.
One of the really cool things about this tiny house is that you've built everything here yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, more or less. I had a lot of help from a couple of mates in particular who I hired for the first couple of weeks. So they were an amazing help. I also opened it up to volunteers as well for the first couple of weeks. So they helped with a lot of the planing of the fence palings and cutting the shingles to length and stuff. But after those 2 weeks, yeah, I just kept on plodding along by myself, just trying to get as much as I could done while I had the shed.
So all that being said, what did this house actually cost to build?
So it cost me about 20 grand in the end.
Wow. That's ridiculously good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, if you're doing it yourself, you can do it pretty cheap. And if you know the right people and if you know where to get the materials from, knowing the right people is a big thing, I think.
How long have you actually been living in the house now?
Oh, probably 2 months, maybe 2 to 3 months.
How are you adjusting to life outside of the van and in the tiny house?
Good. Fast adjustment. I don't know how I'd do a van again.
So now living in this tiny house, what would you say your absolute favorite thing about this space is?
So probably the sense of space, coming from living in a van and living in community, having your own space that you can just move through or just hang out in. It's like a breath of fresh air, really. You know, to me, tiny houses have always been about doing it yourself, like building your own home that you then live in. And there's all these little things that are really satisfying that mightn't make any sense. Little things like the lighting that comes in through the windows and, you know, the way the place smells. And there's moments when, you know, you're sitting down and you're having a cup of tea and you sit back and you're like, I built this, you know, like, and there's so many little things that I know I've done a terrible job on, but no one else will probably see. But yeah, there's those moments where it's just like, I've built this and it's mine, and that's really satisfying.
Well, dude, what you've built here is just so cool. You have taken a bunch of old fence palings and turned them into something really magical. So thank you so much for sharing your home with me.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming and checking it out.
Jesse has done such a brilliant job in building this house. It really goes to show that if you're not afraid of a tremendous amount of hard work, you can take some very tired old materials and turn them into something absolutely wonderful. In today's culture, we are so quick to just throw things away, and projects like this really go to show that I think we really need to redefine what we actually consider trash.